Okay, so I am Pamela Waldrop. I'm one of the co-presidents of Fotofoto Gallery. The other co-president of Hill Wave is Paul Mealy. And then our competition coordinator, Eileen Novak, is running the show tonight. We couldn't do this without her. Many of you have had correspondence with her. I do want to tell everybody who's here that our Zoom receptions are recorded. So I want you to be aware of that as well. The process for tonight is going to be, I'm going to do a general introduction of the gallery. Many of you have been to our gallery, which is awesome. And then I'll be telling you a little bit about Andrea's background. How many, I'm trying to think, who was at our reception? Pauline was, I'm trying, who else was here? Andrea? Okay, so tonight's Zoom reception is going to run pretty much the same way, where Andreas will give some insight about his selection process, talk about the slides, and then each of you will have an opportunity to ask questions and to participate as well. So how long do we it's just a little past 7. So guys, where are you from? Where's everyone from? Linda? Okay, you're muted.
I'm out in Greenport.
Okay. All right. If you just want to chime in. Pardon me?
New York, Manhasset.
Who's speaking?
Me, Linda.
Another Linda.
Oh, another Linda. I didn't know which Linda you wanted.
Oh, okay. We can't see your face. I just see a sign that says Linda's iPad. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you. Carrie Ann?
Hi,
Hi, where are you from, Carrie Ann?
Norfolk.
Yes, okay. Well, everybody else doesn't know. So, okay, Sharon? Sharon Sturgis? Okay. Ryan?
I'm originally from New Jersey, but I've been in Montana for 4 years now.
Terrific. Okay. Andrea Gordon is one of our artist members from Fotofoto Gallery. And Andrea, you're muted.
Hi there. I'm so glad I was able to make it. I just got here from work. Northport, Centerport, New York.
Okay. Tom is another one of our artist members.
Glen Head, New York, currently.
Okay. Anne, who's ducking out of the picture there, is the one of the artist members I was speaking about earlier, who is coordinating a poetry night that's going to be coming up in October. And where are you from, Anne? You muted.
I am from Deer Park my whole life.
Ah, okay. Let's see. Jeff? Are you there, Jeff? No? Okay. We're jumping around here a little bit. Okay, Enid? I guess, should we wait until everyone's faces are clear? I'm never exactly sure when we should start.
Well, it's 5 minutes after.
Okay,
I think we have enough to start.
okay. All right, again, for those of you who just came on. Sorry?
Can you hear, this is Jeff. Can you hear me by any chance?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Oh, lovely. Hi, sorry. I am unfortunately driving, so I'm not on video and I'm not watching, but I am up in Boston at the moment, passing just next to the Charles River at the moment.
Oh, terrific. Okay, I'm glad that you could join us. Thank you very much. Okay, so again, I'm Pamela Waldrop, and I want to tell you a little bit about Fotofoto Gallery if you don't know about us. We are located in Huntington Village in Huntington, New York, about 50 miles from New York City. And very fortunate to be in the village of Huntington, where there are at least 11 different galleries plus a museum. And so I'll do a little quick mention here. In October, on October 6th, we have a Huntington Village Art Walk from 12 to noon on a Sunday, and you have an opportunity to see our gallery as well as many of the other ones in town.
Pam? You said the artwork was 12 to noon. It's 12 to 4.
12 to 5, thank you.
Right.
Okay, yes, that would be short, wouldn't it? Okay,
Very short artwork.
it's from 12 to 5 o'clock on
Great walk.
October 6th. So Photo Gallery was formed in 2003, and it is the oldest fine art photography gallery on Long Island. We are a photographic collective, and we exhibit photographers with independent vision, focus, and purpose, and are dedicated to the artistic development of our members and the greater photographic community. Our next exhibit will be a great example of that. It is a full gallery group exhibition of photographic works by 15 of our members. So if you're close by, please come by. The reception is on Saturday, September 21st from 5 to 7 p.m. We host an extensive calendar of members' solo and group exhibitions, workshops, salons, special events, and competitions, including pop-up shows, which include Your Best Shot, Phone-ography, a national open photography competition, and other exhibitions. I take this opportunity to tell you that our national competition is always a huge competition. It will be coming up sometime in early 2025, and our juror is yet to be announced. So if you're interested in participating, please check our social media. It will be listed on our website, on our Facebook page, on our Instagram posts and stories. And I most recently have started to post on Threads as well. So we're all over. Photo Gallery is a nonprofit organization. So we're always open for donations, sponsors. If you're interested in that, please let us know. All right, so we were very, I think, fortunate to have Andreas as our juror this year. He's going to tell you about his selections, but I want to tell you a little bit about him. He received his B.F.A. from Les Ecoles d'Art Appliqués, not too bad, in Vevey, Switzerland, and an M.F.A. in Studio and Art from Stony Brook University. His work has been exhibited worldwide, including a solo exhibition at Musée in Switzerland, and in many museum collections such as the Museum of Fine Arts in Houston, the Chrysler Museum of Art in Norfolk, the Musée in Switzerland, Musée de la Photographie in Charleroi, Belgium, and Musée for Fotokunst in Odense, Denmark. Also in the Heckscher Museum of Art in Huntington, New York, the Swiss Foundation of Photography, and the Polaroid Collection. He is a recipient of 2 New York Foundation for the Arts Fellowships and 2 grants for the Polaroid Corporation. We are so pleased that Andreas has been our juror. The photography magazine Aperture published one of his portfolios, and in addition, numerous books and magazines have published his work, including The Polaroid Project, a book published as part of a worldwide 9-museum exhibition of artists who have used Polaroid film in their work. I believe that's on your website, right, Andreas?
Yes.
I thought so. If you haven't Googled him and checked out his website, do it. He taught at the International Center of Photography, Stony Brook University and St. John's University. And he is currently an associate professor of photography at Lycoming College and the chair of the art department. So welcome, Andreas, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Fotofoto. So I hope this will be a sort of a very informal, Zoom meeting where you can ask me anytime questions, and hopefully, you can ask me anything you want about your work if you were a participant, or about anything else you want to ask me. So let's make this loose, and so hopefully we're going to have a spirited, discussion. So maybe the first thing I quickly want to do is sort of tell you a little bit about how I went about to, to jury this this competition. Maybe if you don't know me, I do a lot of more experimental work and really sort of push the boundaries of photographic medium. But I actually also taught at my college, a semester-long iPhone photography class. I first poo-pooed it because I thought iPhone is just not, up to the quality that I'm expecting. But then during COVID, when I taught a darkroom class, we had to send everybody home, and within a week, I had to teach myself, the iPhone, and I started to love it, and the possibilities, using all these filters and whatever, and so I actually really enjoy, using the iPhone myself. So, as a juror, I've often been on the other side, as a participant, and I've been juror as well, and it's always a challenge, what I'm looking for. How do you, go about what, how do you choose? And, maybe the biggest challenge is trying to be objective, which is absolutely impossible, and not letting maybe your personal preferences, guide too much your judgment. But, I when I went into this jurying, it was extremely difficult because we had 518 photos from, I believe, 60 participants. Is that correct?
68.
68, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was bound to choose only 30 images. So not 29, not 31. I needed to find 30 images. And I was also told that no participant can have 2 images. So it was extremely difficult because the quality was extremely high, beyond my expectation, and it was amazing, and I really had a hard time, going through. So what I first did, I quickly went through all 518, and the ones that piqued my interest and where I stayed maybe a few seconds longer, I did an initial sort of sorting out. And so I probably started with 125, and then I probably did like 5-6 rounds, to go down to 30. So it was very, very difficult. So, I have no preconceived notion of what a good photograph should look like. For me, photography is all about light, about composition, about form. Choosing also the right technical approach sort of compounds the complexity of photography. There are definitely infinite, ways to approach a subject matter, and everything has been photographed. So the challenge is, how can you still, pique my interest and my curiosity? And ultimately, I chose images that, where a photographer successfully sort of manages all these variables, and that sort of, decided whether you made the cut or not. So, I've been a photographer for over 40 years, and I'm still, sort of trying to find new ways to articulate my vision. So I always explore new mediums, new approaches. And what I'm always I was very interested in, when I was judging this competition is what you included, but also what you excluded. For me, that's almost as important. We as, a painter starts with a blank canvas now, and we have the entire environment and world in front of us. And then how we interpret, and reinterpret what is in front of us and reframe what is in front of us, that's where I'm really interested of, how you successfully do that. Because everything is subjective. Now, what we include, how much we exclude. So I'm very drawn to that, to the experience and the ambiguity of seeing and how you interpret the world in front of you, how you express moods, how you use the light. And so it's extremely complex, to me, photography is extremely complex. And I'm, where you can pique my curiosity and where you show me something, sort of familiar in an unfamiliar way, this is where, I'm really getting interested in your work, and that's a little bit how I approach, that whole process of this competition. So anyway, this is a little bit sort of what, how I went about. And so maybe, we can start maybe looking at some of the photographs, and I can comment some of the photographs, why I chose them and why I didn't. I'm also very interested in, where maybe some of the meaning is below the surface of your print. When I still have to explore sort of intellectually what you were trying to do, where maybe, the meaning is not served on a plate, and where, and I think especially, for example, the first place, this is really a photograph where I was so drawn in because I think he hid more than he revealed in his photographs. And that really piqued my curiosity. And I mean, it's an incredible image to begin with, but then also he still left a lot out there for us to discover. And this is where I'm really starting to be very interested in photography.
Andreas, should we start the slideshow?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, I want to just interrupt and say one thing, because I find this kind of fascinating. As Andreas said, we asked him to select 30 images, and it turned out that there were like 518 images. But what's interesting, there were 14 people from New York State, but there were 16 other people from 16 different states. So not only are the states really diverse, the work in the exhibition is very diverse as well. So can we go ahead and start the slideshow, Eileen? Okay, I don't believe I said this in the beginning, folks, that this is our 10th international photography competition, of course, the exhibition of that. And this Zoom reception will be available on our YouTube channel afterwards, and you can check out at your own leisure, like who all is in the show. And if Eileen forwards it, you will see that we've included Andreas bio as well as his statement. Go ahead. Okay. Go ahead. Okay, Andreas?
So this was one of the first images that I was looking at. That was right at the beginning. And what really sort of interested me is sort of a post-production of this Linda did. And I think just probably a straightforward photograph, probably I would not have chosen it, but by making it sort of the sepia tone, monochromatic, it became a little bit more surreal. And I like, for example, that person, the second from the right, he almost looked like a fake person there. There's something about, you know, the combination of the people, the background, this environment that I guess is that the vessel, I guess?
Yes, yes.
But you know, knowing a vessel in New York, somehow to me it looked something a little bit more futuristic. I mean, it is futuristic, that vessel now, but the way the person photographed it, to me looked like sort of a very futuristic sort of place and almost very surreal. And so it really interests me a lot, and that's why I chose it. I was also very interested in how sort of the people interacted or didn't with each other. And I don't know, it just I like this image. It was one of the first I saw it.
It grabs your attention right away when you walk into our gallery. It is the first image that you see on the left as you walk through the front door.
Especially also, you know, I was talking about maybe what you don't reveal. I was sort of, you know, if I wouldn't know that this is a vessel, I would be very interested. What's going on behind that entrance, you know? And again, this is, I mean, it's a very strange, you know, structure in New York City, but, you know, it could also be something else. And that's what really interested me. Maybe next. And again, anytime you have any questions for me or you want to add something to the photographs, please just interrupt, okay? I hope I'm not the only one who's going to talk.
Linda is here also.
Yeah, I am.
Linda, who took this picture? Because we
No,
have
I'm the one before.
You want to add something from a picture before?
No, the slide that is up now, Dreamscape.
Oh, okay. So again, you know, a landscape photograph, but what really intrigued me is again, it brought me sort of to a different place with this landscape photograph. Again, it's through post-production. And, you know, when I teach, I always tell my students, you know, there's a very fine line where post-production and maybe overly processed photographs can be more distracting than they can add. And obviously this is quite, you know, overly processed, but it didn't bother me because I was so intrigued again in this landscape that could be out of a Tarkovsky movie or you know, like it's just something that really interested me because it was so otherworldly. And I think you did a very good job in you know, compositionally and the post-production. You know, I think by going a little bit over the top, you brought me to a very different place than basically a regular landscape photograph, maybe more like a dreamscape, you know, almost something a little bit unconscious for me, you know, and to me, that was really intriguing. I thought it was very well done compositionally, post-production. I'm pretty sure if it would have been a straight photograph, I probably would not have chosen it. Linda, you want to add something? Maybe what your thought process was?
Well, thank you for your comments. I was intrigued by blending images in Photoshop with different blend modes. And sometimes the photos that I started with were quite processed already, but not in this case. It's just the result of the blend modes I chose.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it was interesting how it came out and surreal, as you said.
Mm-hmm. Good. Good. So I just love the graphic quality of this photograph. again, you know, I would say, you know, whatever we do to a photograph, it has to fit the imagery. And it seems like underexposing or definitely, you know, making the shadows completely dark. It became very graphic. I love a light on it. I love the mood. You know, again, probably the initial photograph probably was not as interesting as this one. So again, whatever Rick did, I think is terrific. Again, it brings me sort of to a otherworldly place. I also like the, you know, just these two lines there of light, you know, where the sun is hitting, you know, these buildings. I assume it's the sun. And I don't know. I also like all the negative space, and I'm a big fan of negative space because for me, negative space has to be filled with my thoughts and with my imagination. And again, I mentioned, you know, before, what you exclude is to me is almost as interesting as what we see and include. And so again, I think really well done compositionally and here also the post-production makes it sort of this really graphic, interesting, you know, photograph. And again, you know, what I was very interested in you know, when I was judging this competition, again, you know, what do you do with something that is fairly ordinary? I mean, I've seen a lot of images of skyline and buildings but then how you interpret it and make it really interesting. I mean, this is where art comes in. And I think Rick really did a wonderful job here, photographing something fairly ordinary, but I think it's an extraordinary photograph.
Lots of room for interpretation.
Yes.
Sure. I don't think Rick is here.
Maybe next.
Yep.
So the reason why I chose this one again is I've seen, I don't know, thousands and thousands of images of the Eiffel Tower. And I'm just interested, you know, seeing something that we've seen so much yet in a different light, in a different way. And I've never seen an image like this from the Eiffel Tower. I think it's compositionally well done. I like sort of the framing of the rest of Paris with all, you know, these lines from the Eiffel Tower. It's maybe a little bit busy, but again, I was interested because you know, Marie-Jean, oh, I don't know if I said that correct, showed me something, you know, showed me the Eiffel Tower in a different way. And I thought it was really well done. You know, I think it was very challenging using all these backgrounds and lines, but I think, you know, ultimately they all came together.
Sure.
Maybe next.
And Pauline is here.
Pauline is here. And so I'm usually really, really good in knowing how pictures are done. And when I talked to Pauline at the opening, she actually surprised me to tell me that this is not a composite. So she fooled me, and I'm happy that I can still learn something. And I really appreciated how she made sense of this reflection, so that inside and that outside, and it's we don't really know what is inside, what is outside again. So, and I like that play with these different planes, and that then, you know, are just two-dimensional now, and how she was able to manage that. And then also by inverting the colors, you know, now it looks like a traditional color negative film. It added something again where it was less about what she photographed, but more about spaces, lines, forms, shapes, and making sense of all that, which to me is extremely challenging. But I like sort of, you know, that orange shape up on the upper left hand side, and then that purple that sort of is almost like this you know, this color on the opposite of the color wheel, just a little bit to the right. And also the sort of that triangle with the colors from the upper left-hand side going down to the door and then to that other shape of purple or blue. There's just so much going on in this image that to me was extremely intriguing and very difficult to do, I think. And I think she did a great job with it. Pauline, you want to add something?
Yeah, I'd love to add something. I had the benefit of in the early part of the pandemic of taking a Zoom class with Andreas during the summer after he had developed his first iPhone class in college for his students, and I learned. I mean, I had a really mediocre cell phone, and I learned an enormous amount because he just threw enormous challenges to us each week. And I took it on with such just passion because I wanted to, was eager to learn. But what I didn't understand when I started the class was how much about art I would learn. I learned about the iPhone. I learned about, you know, what exploration you do, but it improved my ability to see as a photographer a great deal more than it did push me to learn the skills that I needed operationally. So when I saw that he was the juror, I knew I had license to explore, and I had been experimenting with color inversion around the same time as this photo open call came. So I tried this one, and I tried a few others, and I was really having so much fun. Now, this place has a great meaning to me because it's the interior room of the barn, room in a barn. It's right up near our home in Huntington. It's Comset State Park. And this is one of the barns where they pasteurize milk. This is inside the room where they do most of the hard work. So I've always been able, when I look in these old windows and I look into these old rooms, and you can tell by the texture on the walls and the ceiling, you can see this is hard labor, this is hard work. And how much has changed that my life is so much easier. I don't have calluses to do my job. And this was a hard labor. And every time I go there, I feel like I immerse in another, you know, fantastical imagination about what is it like to be there. And when I got to see this inversion, the story is just flooded in. I mean, I had this imaginary story that's flooding in. So the title meant as much to me to reflect on this work as the investment in the processing. So I was so complimented by Andreas speaking at the opening reception, and I appreciate his comments tonight. Thank you so much for teaching me so much.
You're welcome. So maybe I should just clarify that everything was anonymous, so I only knew who the photographer once, you know, I gave them the 30 images. So that it was Pauline, I was very happy about that. But you know, but I really didn't know who anybody was. So when I was juring, so I just want to make that clear.
Let me add to that also, because I really like that this happened. Andreas did select all of the images, of course, anonymously. He did not select the award winners until the printed images were hanging in the gallery. He came to the gallery and selected them there, which was wonderful. I wanted to say something else about Pauline too, because Pauline, I've seen your work in our gallery as well as in many other galleries on Long Island. And I was just thinking about this. I know I've seen this palette before, but you really do have a talent for unifying chaos. And you see it here too. It's well done.
I like that.
Thank you.
Unifying chaos. I like that.
Thanks, Pam.
You're welcome. And congratulations on your third place award.
Thank you. Can I add just briefly? This is the second time I've placed in a phonography competition at Fotofoto.
Who was that with? Who was the other juror?
Um,
Was it Dan Burkholder or we also Alex Ferrone was our juror when?
No, it wasn't out. I'm sure it wasn't Alex from. I'm drawing a blank.
If it was last year, it was Dan Burkholder.
No, it was about the third year, and it was the woman from Pennsylvania.
Oh, Karen Klein. No, was it Karen Klein?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's fantastic too.
So I was honored then, and I'm just as equally honored now. Thank you.
So this image, I chose it. I'm just a sucker for light. I mean, photography is all about light now. The name photography even says it. Now, photo means light, and graphy means recording, documenting, writing with light. So it's just beautiful light. I like how a tree sort of form like a frame. They form almost like a tunnel. And I'm always attracted to images where I would absolutely would love to be there in that place and experience that. And this is one of these photos where I just would love to be under these trees and just experience the sound and the light and the smells. I mean, there's so much sensory things going on in this image, and that's why I chose it. Yes. Yeah. Good.
I believe that shot was taken in Savannah.
That looks like the place in Savannah. I think I know exactly where that is. If you go to the right, there's actually a trail. I think it's to the left of that trail.
Yeah, it's just well done. It's fairly straightforward, but I also like the sepia tonality. Again, makes it a little bit more nostalgic, and maybe nostalgic, to the days when things were a little bit simpler. Anyway, next. And just in case, if any of the artists are here, I would love to hear from you as well. What sort of your thought process was in making some of these decisions. So, with an iPhone, we can do a lot of composites. It's actually very easy, especially if we use, for example, Snapseed, And to me, this was just a very intriguing photograph with, the trees coming this way, the windmill, the birds. Again, I've been very inspired by surrealism. That has been, one of my big inspiration in my work. And again, I think, how all these, maybe I'm gonna borrow the line of Pamela, unifying chaos, and I think she Matthew did a wonderful job here with bringing all these different elements, and by converting the wall sort of bluish, we have a bird, so probably sort of imitating the sky, and again, to me, it's sort of a dreamscape. Something a little bit about the unconscious, sort of deeper, that goes below the surface. This is, so this is where this image brings me. And that always interests me, because it's, how you're going to interpret this is sort of very much from, where you're coming from, your history, your personal history, how you see things. And I thought it was just a really intriguing photograph. I also like sort of a little bit more of a panoramic look. So again, a little bit an unusual, size of an image. So few of these decisions that Matthew took, to me are just really intriguing and piqued my curiosity. And especially also an image, where it's I've never believed that photography is about reality, but this really brings me totally into sort of another world of the unconscious. What I liked about this photograph, again, is very much the graphic element of it, sort of that road that goes from the top to the bottom, and these two bigger drops that were in this picture, and then sort of almost that army of small drops that surrounds them. And again, sort of why I like this image so much. This is probably an image that most people would overlook, would not see it. But John saw it, and then the way he framed it, it didn't become sort of about I believe these are raindrops now, I think. And it was more about the shape and form and the lines, I think, that he saw. And by recropping it a certain way, it became more an abstract image. And to me, this was just really well done. And again, this is where I was really interested in how can you reinterpret what is in front of you and make it interesting and intriguing and show me something familiar sort of in an unfamiliar way. So something ordinary in a very extraordinary way. And I think this image fits that criteria 100%.
This image reminds me of a comment I want to be sure to make too, because all of the images look terrific in the gallery. This one in particular really grabs you when you walk in. And so I wanted everybody to know, and I wanted to give a shout out to our artist member, Bruce Cohen, who printed the show, because he did an excellent job, and the prints do look like the digital images. So it's really wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. Again, this is an image, I've seen a lot of flower images, and after a while they become a little bit redundant, but when I saw it, to me, this was just all about color. And there was just this explosion of color, and then these beautiful lines in the middle that really attracted me. And again, sort of zooming in and just to these 4 lines or 5 lines, and just the color, the combination of color and these lines and the forms, to me was absolutely stunning. And I was a little bit afraid seeing that printed, but also in the print it looked fabulous. And just the combination of the colors, sort of these very warm colors from yellow to orange to red. There was just so much going on different levels, graphically, and then sort of color theory, and just so much that was really well done. I like this image a lot.
Very striking.
This image, again, to me, had something mysterious. I mean, the mask is always something that hides, and we hide behind a mask. So I was interested sort of what's going on, with this mask and why, and the background. And I think the background was well chosen because the background also didn't sort of reveal much. And so for me, it was, again, sort of that mysteriousness, that magical, that that interested me, and sort of the unknown. And also I think what was well done is sort of that mask that is very bright in front of that fairly dark background. Sort of really stands out. It's in your face. Reminds me a lot of some movies, Stanley Kubrick movie. What was that movie? Eyes Shut.
Clockwork Orange.
Eyes wide shut, yeah.
Eyes wide shut. I don't know. This suddenly I got all this association with mask and I don't know, in movies or in dreams or whatever. So I just thought it was really an interesting image.
Yeah.
Well, because of some of the things that you just said, Andreas, that it does grab your attention and it does stand out. It is the image that you see first from our window in the storefront, because it does grab people's attention.
Mhm. Cool. I love the background of it.
You know, folks, those of you who, if this is not one of your pieces, please, if you have a comment or a question that you have about the piece, please feel free to join in.
Yes, I would appreciate that, and add maybe something you see. I think the fascinating thing about photography is there's just not one way to look at them. At any photographs, and I see it a certain way. You might see it in a totally different way, and I'm always interested in how people see a photograph and what sort of attracts them to that. So this photograph, when I looked at all my choices, this is maybe the most sort of ordinary, straightforward photograph. When I started my photo career when I was 20, I was actually hired by the Swiss National Tourist Office to photograph beautiful Switzerland. I quit after 1 year, but it was really a beautiful job. But I had to photograph, a beautiful Switzerland for tourism. And I think this is probably in, I don't know where that is, but Slovenia. Definitely somewhere in Europe. And what I just liked is it's the symmetry of this photograph, the reflection. It's almost, like a mirror image. Often I've heard a lot, or online I read, we should never center something and we should never cut the horizon in half. And this person, Ryan, just basically went against all the things we should not do. And that's especially why I like it, because I'm a big fan of anything goes. It shouldn't be just the rule of third. I'm a big, proponent of centering the main subject matter. I think it's in a very attractive composition, and I'm also in favor of very radical, composition. So this is very classic, very well done. Perfect. To me, it was just sort of a very serene, perfect, beautiful photograph. Again, I would love to be there and just be on a boat and go towards that little island. And I think if a photograph can do that, I think it's a good photograph.
I just wanted to thank you for the Slovenia photograph, the comments. That was my photograph.
Oh, okay.
I do go against the norm when it comes to photography. I don't believe there should be rules. And if something clicks in my head, whether it's a midday shot or shooting in the sun, I'm going to take it. So I appreciate the kind words. And usually it's weird because people can pull stuff out of my photographs that I don't see. Like I'll shoot, I'm like, wow, that's a great photograph. And then someone like you will come in and kind of like break it down, like as far as the symmetry and all that stuff. So, but anyways, thanks for selecting the photo.
Oh, absolutely. No, I think it's a terrific photograph. I also like the very soft lighting, and I wouldn't change anything. Yeah, and I think sometimes the best photograph, we don't really. I read in the rule book of PFLI, which is what is that? Sort of overarching organization of camera clubs on Long Island, that you really have to think hard not to photograph in the rule of third. We basically should photograph in the rule of third. And I always show that slide in my classes from that handbook. And I was like, if we do that, it just becomes so redundant and so stale. And and especially somebody who's experienced looking at photographs, if everything is done the same way, people just gonna just gonna slide to the next, to the next, to the next, and that's the challenge we all have is how can we still stand out, in the zillions of photographs that are made every day. And usually it's through composition, maybe through an unusual composition, through unusual light, through unusual framing, through unusual zooming in or zooming out, or what to exclude or what not to exclude. And that's a challenge we all have. I mean, everybody, myself too, is how can we still, interest somebody? And when we look at the history of art, the people that are still in museums are the ones who did things differently.
That's a great comment. I think many photographers have the rule of thirds grid stuck in their heads.
Yeah,
For sure.
and it's unfortunate. And when I started teaching classes, I went online just to see what the average photographer, when they go online and they want to get taught about composition, what they will hear. And the first few Google pages, just all rule of thirds. And everybody says you should do that, and don't center things. And I'm like, wow, these experts, I think they do a disservice to the photo community because they don't encourage people taking chances. Anyway,
I have to say something about this. Is that okay?
absolutely.
I own a massage therapy business, and the only reason I bring that up is because things that are very relaxing, I'm drawn to, obviously. And this image, it's just amazing to me because of the angle that it was shot at, that you start from the outside, or I do. I start from the outside and go in to the middle. And obviously the reflection, it just has an extremely soothing quality about it that I very much appreciate the image.
Thank you. Thank you. And just real funny story with this. So I took a 2-week train trip through Europe and I didn't pack my camera to save on weight. And that's why I wound up taking the shot with my phone. But looking back, I wish I'd packed my camera because there were some shots I wish I'd got with my Nikon.
Well, you did great with the with the phone. With the phone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you shoot this from the train?
No, so this is Lake Bled in Slovenia. So there's a trail that goes around the lake. This was years ago, so I forget if it was paved or a rocky trail, and I just shot it from the lake shore.
Very cool.
Great shot. Congratulations. So, this image, I was just really interested because, again, maybe what it didn't tell us, and probably more than what it tells us. And again, there's some kind, I like the soft focus. So again, it becomes sort of an image that to me is more psychological than, an image about this girl. So I don't think it's something else. I'm not quite sure what it is, but again, it's very sensitive. It is. I love the light, the shadows, the shadow of a girl on the wall. I love her position, her how she stands there. Again, it raises more questions than it gives answers, and so there's something mysterious about it. Is she in her thoughts? Is she dreaming? Is she I don't know. It's just I was just really intrigued also with the play of the light, sort of the darkness and the brightness, and to me that added sort of to the mystery of it. She stands sort of in the bright spot, but sort of that shadow is sort of almost starting to engulf her from the left. So I don't know, there's a lot going on that I could analyze, and I just thought it was a very dreamy, beautiful, sensitive shot. Well done, compositionally and also, working with light in a very, very artistic way. So great shot. Got second place. I always tell everybody, go shoot at night, because night has some of the most beautiful lighting, as long as we know how to shoot. Often my students don't do good exposure, so it's all dark. I said, don't be afraid, having a very, very long exposure. We can do that now with cell phones. I'm pretty sure this is a night shot with a sky and the stars. I mean, these lines, to me, these are the stars. So again, also the movement adds a little bit to an otherworldly sort of feeling, that is not really, to me, just a landscape photograph. I like sort of, the lines of the stars going a little bit in all directions. The lighting is beautiful. So especially if you have a long exposure at night, we can create sort of this beautiful, tonal range on in the landscape. I like the movement. I think it's just a very beautiful shot, again, that can be interpreted as a landscape photograph or maybe something else. So it's definitely not a traditional landscape photograph. So good job.
I think Mohammed is here.
Okay. Maybe
Yes.
I would love to hear from you also. What I was very interested in this photograph, again, to me, it works on a lot of different levels. First of all, compositionally, I love the symmetry. I love the centering of that light where everything converges, from that bluish cold tone into that warm tone. And again, I'm sort of very interested, what is there, is that mystery, that light, we go towards that light. To me, it's also an incredible image about, color. To me, I mean, the first sensation I had about this image was just color. So I was very interested in the color and how, we go from blue to purple to yellow, orange, and red, and so again, sort of almost that whole spectrum of the primary colors, and again, also just the mystery of it. What is this? Where does that lead us? Is there something interesting at the end of this hallway where the light is? Is it spiritual? Is it scary? There's a lot of different emotion to me that I get looking at this photograph. But primary, in the first place, to me, I was just really attracted by the color. Mohammed, are you?
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
You want
Well,
to comment on this photograph?
I don't know if I have any specific comments. It was a very random photo that I captured. Something about the light at the end of this tunnel kind of caught my attention, and I love how the colors turned out as well. I can't say that was completely intentional, but been taking photos with my phone for years, and some of them come out like that, and I appreciate the selection into this exhibition and the comments. Thank you.
Great shot, yeah.
Where
No,
is?
I'm not gonna spoil the mystery for you. But this was taken in a rooftop here in Seattle, Washington, where I live. Yeah, I went up there, and it's just a tunnel that leads to other places.
Sometimes it's good not to know too much, huh?
Yeah, we'll leave it there.
Good, next. This was I just absolutely love the play of light, of lines, of the water drops that created this really incredible, beautiful reflections. The lighting is just absolutely gorgeous. And again, the decision that Joseph took by really going close and you know, what's in focus, what's out of focus. I think the focus is exactly in the right place. Again, it's just, you know, it doesn't reveal how big this is. Is this small? Is this just small grass? Is it tall? It doesn't matter. It's just, it's just magical. To me, it was just you know, a magical place, you know, actually probably a very boring place to begin with, that you made totally magical the way you framed it. And again, seeing that, you know, photographing some, it seems to me, grass, and you made you know, a very magical photograph, you know, using light and lines and, you know, a beautiful composition and the beautiful framing. And again, probably stepping back a little bit, this image would be dead, you know, wouldn't work anymore. So I think great decisions making this photograph. And again, also photographing towards the light is one of the most beautiful lightings. You know, and just all around, just, I wouldn't change anything. That's an image I wanted to give a prize to, or honorable mention, but I wasn't allowed giving more than 6, so.
Well, if it's any consolation, Joe has been in many of our exhibitions. He consistently places in the shows. His work is always high caliber.
Yeah, good. So here, you know, I was right away attracted to this photograph again, because of the negative space of this light, of this tunnel, of what's there, the mystery of it. And again, sort of, I love the symmetry of it. I love, you know, the centering of it, of that. So it had something very, very magical about it. I love the play of color, you know, sort of the blue with, and this a little bit dirty blue with a little bit that dirty yellow. Again, just how it plays together. But especially that light, to me, was just absolutely magical. And again, doesn't reveal much. I almost don't want to read the title with this one, because I just like, you know, to create my own thoughts looking at it. To me, it has also something very transcendental or spiritual. You know, we often heard about people talking about, you know, people who died for a few seconds, that they saw the light, that bright light. And to me, that's sort of one thought I had when I looked at this image. I was just like, whoa, you know, is that experience that some people have? I don't know. So there was a lot of different things going on for me, you know, photographically, in terms of narrative, you know, sort of very interesting. So a lot of different layers in this photograph that to me was terrific.
Is Carrie Ann still here? I thought I saw her earlier.
I think so.
Okay, too bad. Yeah, so I think she was here before, no?
Definitely was.
Why I chose this one again, it's, you know, something that is very familiar, you know, a train or a subway, or we see it every day, especially, you know, when we're in New York. And, you know, just by photographing from a different perspective right away, you know, we see a world that is quite unfamiliar to most of us. And I think, you know, by photographing from above, this image became more about the lines than the train, but using the, you know, the train as, you know, to create this line, you know, that is sort of a dominant part of this photograph. And then we have all the other lines from, you know, from the train tracks that sort of complement it, but are sort of visually sort of inferior, but they complement it. So I just really love that line and the perspective, and you know, I think that's one thing that is very important. We should, just by not photographing always from our height, how we see the world, right there we can make a difference. And so going on your belly or going on a tree, or right there we can create something that doesn't look as familiar, or something that is very familiar.
I want to throw in a comment here right now, because this particularly makes me think about this. Because those of us who hung the show had this conversation. We've had some jurors in the past who selected excellent shows, but they were building a show. There emerged a sort of theme. And what my personal opinion is of this particular exhibition is there many, many powerful images, but they're all very unique. They were all about themselves. It wasn't, I didn't see any intention to relate them to some particular theme. And I love that about this show. Does anybody else see that happening? Any comments from anybody else?
I definitely felt that. Yeah, I thought it was sweepingly, the subject matter, the techniques were all different. The creativity was really diverse. How people approached a very interesting take. I really loved the content of the show.
Yeah, I think that it's a good comment, Pamela, and and I agree also that, and maybe I don't know if yeah, to me, I was not interested in the theme. I was really interested in the individual photograph, if they fit a certain criteria for me of that I mentioned maybe at the beginning, and that was my main concern, and because otherwise I would sort of jury a show according to my preferences, and I didn't want to do that. Okay. Yes.
I just wanted a quick comment on this photo. So I've lived in the mountains now for 4 years, and this photo, even though it was taken in Chicago, it just brings back like a flood of memories to me from like being in New York City with the subway line and stuff, and just like sensing like noises and smells and all that kind of stuff.
Maybe not so much the smells.
Can you give me a second, Julian?
I didn't mean bad smells, but I do resonate with those.
Yeah.
For me, personally, Ryan, when I'm looking at my own work, one of my measures of whether or not I've been successful in my work is exactly what you said. If I can feel physically like I did when I was there, remember the air, remember whether it was the smells or the sense of the space. If that happens when I look at my work again, when I revisit it, that's a successful piece for me.
Well, Pam, this is a compliment on a compliment about this image. It reminds me of your work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Definitely.
I really love this photograph again. I think again, Jeff shows me something that I haven't really seen. I've seen a lot of trails. Chris M.F.A, for example, does a lot of these sun trails. I did a lot of sun trails quite a long time ago. I always loved a good landscape photograph. So I think this photograph would have been just fine as a traditional landscape photograph. But then he added this line, and it just totally intrigued me, because I wasn't quite sure, is it the line from, I believe that's the moon, or did he use a flashlight, which I think he did probably, but I'm not quite sure.
Jeff is here.
And then I want to hear from him. And ultimately, I didn't really care how he did it. I just thought it sort of complemented beautifully the line of this tree trunk in the water and how they sort of played with each other and sort of met at some point, in the photograph, and then they both continued their lines. And it's just a magical sort of light. Again, I believe that's an evening light, a night light, and great exposure, beautifully composed. And then that line of this light is just, again, sort of very surreal. And again, it transports me to a different place than just a traditional landscape photograph. So it adds a layer to a photograph that is just intriguing to me. I saw his other photographs. So he did an entire series with this, some kind of line, a white line in his photograph. And so I liked it conceptually, I liked it visually, I liked it graphically. I think this one to me was the strongest, but all the other ones were really interesting too. And as a series, obviously, I like people who work in series, and I think most people that I gave honorable mention or prize, the other images that they submitted were extremely strong too as a series. So I appreciate when somebody can show me more than one good picture. And I just thought it's a very surprising. I didn't expect an image like this. And right there, I was like, whoa, that's interesting. And I really started to studying it. And there was just so much going on visually, graphically, lighting wise, that I think, I wish I could have given more prizes. So Jeff?
Hey. Well, that's nice. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, so it's a double exposure of the same image. One is still, and then one uses motion. And so it's kind of I've been doing this around the country in different places. It can only happen during the full moon, which is interesting to go out when the moon is at its fullest, and then you try to figure out how to make the moon within the frame go where you want it to when that second exposure takes place. But it's been a fun project to work on.
Oh, so this is the actual moon, the line, no?
Yes. Yeah, it's moving the iPhone. So the one image is on a tripod. Both images are on a tripod. Yeah. And then there's this strange thing that happens when you're shooting in the resident camera. At the end of the long exposure, it processes for just a short moment. And at that time, when it's processing, you can move the camera so that the light trails, you create this light trail. And I came upon it by accident. And I've been using it to sort of figure out, different ways to play with the light moving through the frame and moving through the woodland and other areas.
I'm just curious, is how many tries do you need for an image like this, or are you just lucky? Or
well, I think this one was pretty lucky. I mean, I knew I was trying to move the moon, through the log that was on the ground there, or in the water. So I was trying to make that happen. This was probably 4 or 5 tries, and you don't know whether you have it right because the screen's so small. But it was probably 4 or 5 tries before I got it the way I wanted to.
I mean, to me, this is pretty extraordinary because I do a lot of light paintings. I outline with flashlight my body and so on. And I know the challenge of using, sort of light and moving the cameras or flashlight, and it's very challenging. And so kudos, because all the other pictures, I thought this is how you did it, but I wasn't sure, and I was like, this is really difficult to do. Because from my own experience, using sort of light in a more experimental way. And so it's pretty remarkable image. So
thank you. That's very kind.
Jeff, how were the 2 exposures combined?
So you do the first exposure on the tripod, and that's your base exposure. That's the sort of the landscape, and then the second exposure is the same image. And so you just move it, and I first process in Lightroom, and then I transfer it over to Photoshop, and that's where I sort of make the edit where it kind of moves through. It's goes behind the piece of wood, right?
Yes.
And the log. So I do that in Photoshop.
And now I got it. Okay. I was trying to
Otherwise, it
put
probably
it
would be
together.
quite. It's however you did it, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it works. It really, it really makes you stop and do a double take.
Oh, that's
Love
nice.
that.
Yeah, I'm not normally I'm usually a street photographer, so I moved to the country, and I'm trying to figure out something to do out here in the where there's the moon. So it's a new project.
Congratulations on the honorable mention award.
Thank you.
So the reason I chose this image again is, we all know the Empire State Building, and I've been up there and seen it many, many times, having lived in New York for so long. And this is yet an image I've never seen before, and I talked to the artist, to Ken, I don't know if he's here, and, at the opening, and I was like, how is it possible that there were no people there? And he said he was just lucky. He didn't expect it, and he saw it. And this is one shot, apparently. So it's just reflection. There's a lot of mirror glass that just reflected. And again, seeing it and then making sense out of that chaotic, things that go on. It's very well done. I like how he framed the Empire State Building in one of these windows. So it's almost like a kaleidoscope. And again, he made sense out of this chaos, and was able to create an image that to me is compositionally very rigorous and well done. And I just love the lines, the shapes, the forms. To me, it's more about this. And then obviously the Empire State Building sort of anchors the entire image. So I think really well done.
Paul, correct me
Yeah.
if I'm wrong, because we spent some time talking to Ken and, actually had him turn around and we looked at the back of his t-shirt that he wore.
Sure.
Wasn't he a firefighter? And the back of his t-shirt had the stair steps on it, because another way that he unified chaos is didn't he say they ran up the steps of this building?
Yeah, I don't remember if it was a charity thing, if it was a work thing, if it was
Right.
a exercise thing, but he did say they walked up to the top, as far as I remember.
Right.
He had a fireman shirt on, so I don't know if he was a fireman or if he was just there for part of the thing.
So.
That I don't know.
But it's interesting to think about him making that journey up through this this building.
Yeah.
I would have took the elevator.
Good. Next. I chose this picture. I guess I was just attracted to color. I like the color. I mean, it's probably a little bit over processed, but I like that black line, that sort of separates the sky and the water, and I like that building in the middle, sort of anchors a little bit, and sort of the lines from the sky of a cloud sort of go towards that building. I think it was just a lot about color. That's why I chose this one.
Sue is here too.
Hi. And
You're muted.
I do appreciate your comments, and I appreciate very much having been accepted into this exhibition. You said this maybe had been processed a bit too much. It actually wasn't processed.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, really. This is in Fairhaven, Massachusetts, where I live.
Yeah.
I take pictures at before the sunrise every morning.
Yeah.
And the sky at that time of day is wild. It's crazy. You've never seen anything like it. So for me to process on top of that would be more
Overkill.
worse than redundant. It would be violating the imagery.
Yeah.
I was trained in painting, as an artist. So what attracts me to this is, as you pointed out, the color,
Yeah.
but also the energy of, and I see what looks to me like a little bit of a hourglass shape in the middle of the clouds.
Mhm.
The clouds are swirling around.
Yeah.
The wind was fairly high that day, and they're just all in motion.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank
Yeah,
you.
I was very attracted to that middle part, that little sort of S or whatever it is that comes down, and I agree, it has a very painterly quality, and and yeah, I just thought it was beautiful, you know.
Thank you.
Well done. So this was a wonderful series, sort of very she had a concept that Julie followed through for all her 5 or 6 images she submitted. And I thought the portrait was good. And I'm not sure if I would have chosen this image if there wasn't the text. And what I was really interested in was just how the text complemented the photograph in ways that really elevated both. And maybe you can read it. And every photograph and all the text, they had something special, something a little bit unusual, in the text that sort of really attracted me, and to me that could be a book project. um it was well done photographically, but I think the text is extremely important in these images. And so each of the photograph that Julie submitted, where there was a photograph on the left and the text on the right, and I really have to say all 5 images I wanted to put in. I just really like the concept and how they sort of worked with each other.
I love how she treated the edges as well. It has the feeling of a tintype.
Tintype, yeah, or actually also a Type 55 Polaroid.
Yeah, yes.
So I did a lot of Type 55 Polaroid, so that sort of gave me also a little bit of a nostalgic feeling too. So anyway. I really love this photograph because, again, of what it didn't tell me. Sort of a little bit mysterious. I'm interested in what's going on in this bed. Are they lovers? Is somebody alone? Is it morning? Is it evening? Is it we don't see the outside. It's sort of misty and foggy. So it has a very sort of cinematic quality to me. And I love the mood, it's a little bit dark, so it's a little bit mysterious. I do love that we just see sort of a little bit of a spread of a bed, so it gives us a lot of hints that we need to explore in our own imagination. And I also love the processing, whatever she did with the light and making it maybe a little bit more darker to create a little bit more mood. So to me, I was just really attracted by the mood of this photograph. And also sort of, again, what Kazmira doesn't tell us. So again, it's a photograph that works a lot sort of under the surface of the image. And so very psychological to me. And again, sort of very Tarkovsky movie. I don't know. Just really interesting.
Has a haunting feeling to it.
Yeah. So I talked to Jennifer at the opening, and
I think Jennifer is here tonight too.
okay, good. What I was really intrigued about this photograph, to me it almost looked fake. So I was like, is that a real tree? Is that real water? And I was pretty sure it was, but just the way it comes across, it's almost, again, it's sort of, to me, was sort of mysterious, like, what is this tree doing there in the middle of this waterfall, and sort of that lonely tree, looking very, I don't know, imposing, and then all that water. And I also like that Jennifer did it in black and white. I think that probably was a good decision to make it maybe a little bit more abstract. I also like how the tree sort of really stands out in front of that white background. So again, I think a lot of good decisions made for a very intriguing photograph. Jennifer, you want to add something?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've gone back and forth in the different versions of this shot. It was a spillway over a dam in Westchester County, New York, after a very heavy storm. And, first I was just taking general pictures of it, and then I walked closer and saw this tree. And then it was all about the tree, because I was just fascinated how this tree could survive with this deluge of water coming over it from the heavy rains. And I use the live mode on the iPhone. And so I have both the, still shot version where it's violent, and it's all the water droplets. And the focus, I think, there is so much more on the water. But then the long exposure to me just sort of quieted it down. And, there was still all the water, but it was more about the strength of the tree. And I felt that I could make the contrast better with the tree and have it stand out more in the long exposure version. So I still like them both, but there's something about this version that just kind of spoke to me a little bit more.
I love the combination of the starkness and the softness together in the image. And the flow is just, it's stunning.
Yeah, it was interesting the way that the long exposure wasn't that smooth, coming down over the rocks just past the tree. It's got that sort of ripply nature to it. And when you see the still version of the shot, you can kind of see why it is that way. But that to me was kind of interesting too.
Looks like tire treads in the snow.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Great picture. Great picture.
Thank you.
What I like about this image was just, again, sort of a play with color, sort of the warm versus the cold color. And I think it probably adds something to it. Again, makes it a little bit more surreal. And again, brings me, again, sort of to a little bit more magical, mysterious place. So often I'm not a big fan of maybe over processing too much, but I think in this image it really works well, because it creates, again, a little bit sort of a surreal mood and image, and that's what I was attracted to. And I also like sort of, the reflection of the sky, of the clouds, and then how Sandra sort of inverted the colors, and I think, to me, that was really well done. I also like, maybe something that we are not supposed to do, but sort of that line cuts into the middle. I'm never concerned about something like this. I know often I hear in camera clubs we shouldn't do things like this, but it either works or it doesn't. And I think here it really works well. What I liked about this image is just you know, I love still lives. Still lives are always very challenging to do, and you know, we see a lot of good, but also a lot of maybe not so interesting still lives. I think this is really well done. It has a little bit, a feel of older still lives with sort of unusual, maybe, peppers and flowers and arrangement. I just thought it was well done. I like the lighting. Very much about color again. I just thought it was an interesting still life. Also an interesting composition with all that black velvet on top. That sort of creates quite a contrast and sort of weight in this image. So I thought compositionally it was also quite interesting to add all that darkness on top on a negative space. So I thought that was, an interesting composition that is probably a little bit unusual. So, and maybe that what attracted me to this image as well.
It translated into a gorgeous print too.
Yeah. So also this one to me just was all about color and sort of that it was almost like hypnotic looking at this photograph. And this I'm not quite sure how it was done. And maybe that's not even important. I just thought the lines and the colors and everything just came together compositionally, graphically, color-wise, visually, everything. I just thought it was a very interesting photograph. Well done. Yeah, I like that. Almost like more graphic design than a photograph, but however Alex did it, I thought it was really well done. Again, still life has a little bit sort of a painterly older quality, but it's still a photograph. I often really hate when people like use Photoshop to make a photograph look like a painting. I always say, why don't you just paint then? But I like sort of the light, the quality of the light, the composition, showing one, sunflower open and the other one we don't see the, inside. So I thought there was a nice sort of play on shapes in this photograph. I also like the background has sort of a little bit that painterly quality, again, in color, everything. So I think this is a beautiful, well done still life.
Sharon, are you still with us? I see your name. Not sure if she's still with us or not. I actually spoke to her.
Hold on. She's here. Hold on.
Oh, great.
Just ask her to unmute.
Sharon?
Yes, there I am. Okay, hi.
Hi. I was just about to say that I spoke to you on the phone. I know you
Right.
were so pleased, but please share your thoughts with us.
Well, I'm a big flower person where I use flowers in healing, particularly with animals. I use flower essences. And so I have a lot of flowers around me and I photograph them a lot. And what I loved about this one was the feeling with the leaf of coming out and helping. And I felt like it was actually coming almost out of the image when reaching out. So that was what so strongly drew me to this. But I have like 8 versions of this, but this is the one that drew me the most.
Very nice. Well done.
Thank you for your compliments. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So what I like about this one again is, is that red, that that reflection, and again that inside outside, the complexity of what of the different spaces and space, and not quite sure what is inside outside, what is a reflection, what is the person actually photographing, and then especially that red rectangle sort of really anchors this photograph. And again, to me it's more about shapes and colors than what the person photographed. To me it's almost reminds me a little bit of Mondrian, the painter who did a lot of these shapes and forms and lines. And so I just thought, again, somebody who had a very acute sense of making something very creative out of something actually quite boring. And to me, that's art, and seeing that, and even the lights of the street lights, sort of add, to the complexity of this image. And so I think this is a great image. So Ivan is, that's I awarded this the first place, and from the moment I saw this image, I was just totally floored by it. And again, it's, to me, it was just how he processed it. So it's all that contrast, and it's very graphic. It's I like the dark sky. I often did that when I shot with film, using a red filter. Now we can easily do it in, probably Photoshop or in post-production digitally. But again, to me, this was an image that left so much open of exactly what's going on. What is that shape on the left-hand side? I thought probably that's a beach, that's probably sand, but the way he processes it, it becomes almost sculptural. It's almost like a sculpture. And he had probably he submitted like 4 or 5 images. And they were, I believe these are his son, I believe, that he photographs on the beach in Hawaii. And this one had the most mystery in the image. And then when I saw the other picture, I was like, oh yeah, so it's a beach. And they were all very good too. But this one to me was the most intriguing, just because it left so much open to interpretation. And to me, from a second I saw it, I knew this definitely would make the show, and I knew that would be very, very hard to top this image for me. It was just instant attraction, and again, I love all that negative space, how he treated this image in post-production, like that hand that that is totally black. I don't know. I think it's just a magical image. It's incredible.
It's very interesting in the gallery to see the placement of this image next to the one, I believe it's called Martha, which is the image, the portrait of the woman with the Christmas lights on her head and the text. Seeing the two juxtaposed against each other, it's really interesting to see the comparison and how much thought each of them triggers. Both the question, a lot of questions.
Yeah, if you all have a possibility to see the show, I think Fotofoto did a wonderful job pairing photos together, and it's really interesting how they are hung in the gallery. So I think you guys did a great job, with that.
Thank you.
It adds to the show, the way the sequence.
You have until this Saturday, the 14th, to see the show. That's the last day that the show is up.
Next. Is that the last one?
No, we just went to Trisha Wright.
Trisha, this one is the last one.
So one thing that attracted me right away to this photograph is, I don't know if that's no, it's sister, so it's not a self-portrait, but I've done a lot of nude self-portraits myself, like in the early 90s. So right away, I was interested of how somebody else would interpret, putting yourself in the landscape, and I was just really intrigued by this photograph, which to me looks probably like a double exposure. And it has this very fetal sort of feeling, and also, a way, this person is in the landscape and maybe become one with the landscape. So it has something very primordial for me that was very, very interesting. And so the position and where this person is, and how this person becomes almost sort of one with the landscape, and sort of, or maybe goes back, we come out of a womb and ultimately, we become dust and go back into the landscape. So again, sort of a very psychological image, a very image that, sort of triggered a lot of intellectual thought for me. To me, that goes beyond of, what we see, and sort of, again, very interesting in the sense that it can be interpreted in so many different ways. And again, and to me, that's always a fascinating part about photography. It is like a good photograph doesn't have just one interpretation, and often what we bring to the table is from our education, our upbringing, our nationality, our spirituality, and all this that we bring, to a photograph is, to me, becomes so important, of how we're going to interpret and read a photograph. If we want to take the time, to read a photograph, which to me, this is when photography really becomes important, and interesting, is when, it maybe leaves, some space for us to see it our own way. And I thought this image was just so interesting, also because I've been using myself for the past 35 years, in my photographs. So, so it reminds me sort of what I've done, like 30 years ago or 32 years ago. Anyway, I just thought that was a very...
Andreas, when
Yeah.
you were looking at the images, making your selections, did you see any of the text or the written statements that accompanied them? Was that visible to you, or was it?
I don't believe so.
No, they weren't.
If it was, I didn't read it.
Okay, because I don't know if you've read this statement or not, because pretty much what your interpretation of this
Oh.
is what it's about. And I mean, I know Trisha, a lot of us know Trisha personally, and she lost her sister 2 years ago.
Oh my God, I didn't even read that.
And
I
this
was
is
lucky and I didn't read it. And
this is
and
really a tribute, in memory to her older sister, and that primordial going back to dust to, like, that's this image.
oh, I didn't even read that. No, I don't think I was able to read any. Maybe I was, but I wasn't interested in reading it because to me, I just it's a photograph that has to capture me, and if it doesn't, if it needs text for me to like a photograph, then I'm probably not as interested in it. So I think I chose images that to me just had a very, very strong visual, communicative appeal that, went beyond just sort of ordinary. So, wow, I mean, it makes a lot of sense now that I read the text.
We have a competition each year called Your Best Shot, where the people can submit, I think, up to 3 images, and it's an unframed unmatted show. And from, we get, I don't know, how many images do we get, Eileen? 150 at least images. And from those, we select 2 people who win their solo shows for the following year. Trisha was one of our winners, and her show was nudes in a landscape, all black and white. Absolutely gorgeous.
This is Pauline. I have an observation. When I saw this in the gallery, I thought it was a tree trunk. That was the impression I had from above the figure in the center. But I only realize now it's the photographer's shadow that seems to sweep through the center of the image, which integrates the whole theme to me much tighter than I imagined before. And,
I did not see that.
And I don't know if I'm right, but I certainly got a chill when I realized it very much could be.
Could be, yes. You're right. Could be.
Because the whole center of the image is darker.
Yeah.
And that would be one of the explanations.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Is this our last image, Eileen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I'll
Were
stop
there any,
sharing.
excuse me? Thank you, Andreas, so much for your insight, for sharing your insight and how you selected the images. One of the things that particularly leaves an impression on me is when you talk about images that ask questions, that don't tell the whole story and leave room for you to find the story. Is there anything you'd like to add in summary about the exhibition?
I mean, I was just so impressed by what I saw. I wish I could have chosen more images. There was a lot that, and whoever, if anybody's here tonight who participated but wasn't chosen, it's most likely not because the photograph wasn't good enough. It was just I didn't have more room to choose more images. And it was pretty exceptional, what I saw. And so it was actually a lot of fun, to do that juring. So it was challenging finding, and unfortunately had to leave out quite a few photographs. So I think kudos to everybody what is in the show, and whoever, try again. I'm very familiar with rejections. They hurt. they are no fun, but you cannot take it personally, and they obviously whoever juries a show, obviously there is always that very subjective view that comes into play, and we have to accept that, and and just try again.
Well, thank you again. And I want to congratulate both the winners and everybody who was selected for the show, and to thank everybody who came to participate in our Zoom reception tonight. I think forums like this are really important. It's important to go to receptions. It's important to have conversations. Oh, go ahead. I heard somebody. But thank you very much. I do want to let everybody know that we have a presence on Facebook, and hold on, I don't know. Okay, yeah. Please check out our Facebook page. It's Photo Gallery. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. our website, our stories, and we welcome input from everybody. As I said earlier in the Zoom, that our next exhibition is a full gallery group show by 15 of our Photo Gallery artist members. The reception is on Saturday, September 21st from 5 to 7 p.m. And we will also be participating in the Huntington Village Art Walk on Sunday, October 6th from 12 noon until 5 p.m. So Eileen, Paul, have I forgotten anything? Okay.
Pam,
you
I
got
just
a
want
lot.
to thank you for doing this. This was fabulous. Thank you.
Yes,
Yes, thank you very much.
Very grateful because I've got a very ill husband and I've been sick of terrible COVID and haven't been able to go to the show. So thank you so much. I'm very grateful.
You're
And you-
welcome. It takes a lot of people to put this together, and
I know.
without Eileen, it never would have happened. So special thanks goes out to Eileen.
Very grateful. This was wonderful. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you all. I hope to see your work again. I
Yeah.
think. Okay, everybody have a great night.
You too.
Huntington,
Bye now. Stay
Terrific job.
congratulations.